Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel today. I'm your host Sanj and I wanted to share something that I've seen recently. Seems to be a bit of a trend on TikTok, right? And these are like funny cat videos, but they're AI driven, they're AI generated, and some of these are getting like millions of views. I'm talking like hundreds of millions of views, okay? So I got to thinking like, what if there's a way to create these videos using AI, but more importantly, how can I automate the entire process, okay? So I actually built this automation that I'm gonna show you shortly. And before I do me a solid, like this channel, like this video, subscribe, you know the drill. Let's get started. First up, let me show you how viral these cat videos are. And you can see that I'm inside of TikTok. This is a profile called MP Minds. Disclaimer, this has nothing to do with me. This is not my profile. This is not my account. I'm just showing you what's possible, and you can go on to TikTok and verify this for yourself. Okay, so I've actually sorted by popular, and you can see that they have 1.4 million followers, 31.4 million likes, right? Which is crazy. And what's even more crazier is that their best video has 51.6 million views, right? And it's not even that great. If I click on it, it's not that dynamic, right? All they've done is take a bunch of, cat images, static cat images that were created by AI, and they've just put them together. Like, it's almost like a slideshow, right? This has no sound, it's not dynamic, it's not even a video, and yet it can command 50 plus million views, okay? What's even more crazy is that it has 4.8 million likes, 81,000 comments, more than 81,000, almost 82,000, right? And I mean, 500,000 bookmarks, right? There's a lot of crazy cat people out there that you can monetize, right? And this should be monetized, right? I don't know, I haven't had a look at this, but I mean, you can sell anything on here. You can sell affiliate products, you can sell cat products from Amazon, you can sell merchandise, you could turn this into a brand, right? There's so much more you can do. And what I would do if I was this guy is I would actually turn them into dynamic videos like this, right? Because these are very easy to generate with AI and automation. But also I would add sound. I don't know if this has got sound. Yeah, I don't think any of these got sound. And once you add sound, right, you make it more interactive, which means that you can get way more virality, right? I think sound is a missing component here, and I'm actually surprised that it has almost 52 million views without sound. I'm inside of N8N, and I decided to build it inside of N8N because recently I'm finding that my automations are just so much better in N8N than they are in Make. I mean, I've been a big fan of Make, but I think N8N is doing some really cool stuff, okay? So the automation is split into 4 parts, okay? The first part is the storyboard agent. Let me just zoom in here so you can see it. So this is the storyboard agent, and I'll go through exactly why we need this, and obviously we're gonna do the build together, okay? Then the second part is the image AI agent. So this is gonna create the image and it's gonna get the image, and I'll show you what I use for that. The third part is agent, and this is probably the biggest section, right? Because I need the image to create a video, I've got to get the image, then I need the text to create the audio, because I'm actually creating audio on this automation because I think, that's the missing piece. Then I have to download it, update the permissions, merge the files, display the elements, and then render the video, okay? And I'll show you why you need all these tools in between, like merge and display elements, okay? And then the last part is basically the video upload. So I've actually used an OpenAI module to create the video titles for YouTube. I'm gonna download the video and then I'm gonna upload the video as well, okay? So before I get started with the build, let me show you what the actual cat video looks like. So this is it here. Let me play it. And you can see it's quite, it's not bad actually. Right? It's pretty cool. I mean, you can be really creative here. You can, play around with the prompts, make them fatter. I'd probably make them a little bit more fatter. And maybe looking at the original profile on TikTok, I'd maybe change the style of these videos, right? Because this kind of cartoon style or whatever it is seems to do really well, and the fat cats are doing amazingly well, right? So something like this, it's kind of hilarious, right? Like a fat, overweight, obese cat that's working out, right? So you can have a lot of fun with this. Let's go ahead and build this puppy, and we're going to start off on the first section of the workflow, which is the storyboard AI agent, okay? And so we've got 3 nodes here. The first one, schedule trigger, video setup, and the storyboard AI agent. And let's head over to a new workflow, and let's just go ahead and build that, okay? So the first one you want is a schedule trigger. Now, if I was doing this on TikTok, I'd probably upload something like 3 videos, and I'd just do 1 run a day, right? And I'll show you exactly how you can create 3 videos, or like 3 5-second videos in like a 15-second segment, okay? And you probably want to run that like 3 times a day. So the configuration for that is very straightforward. It's self-explanatory. I'm not going to go through that, okay? The second one you want to add, the second node, is called edit fields, okay? And I'll show you why you need that. So if I go into the original, we're going to look at that. Okay, so this is basically load. Can be a bit slow sometimes. So I'm doing a field called the number of videos. Okay, so this is the number of videos inside the actual the video that it generates, right? So if you wanted 4, and then these videos are by default, the way I've set them up, they're 5 seconds long, right? So if the number of videos is 2, this entire scene will be 2 videos at 10 seconds, right? Does that make sense? If you wanted to have 5 videos, 10 videos, you just adjust this number, but just remember that each segment is 5 seconds long, okay? But for the sake of this video, because I'm gonna run it live later, once I'm done, I wanna just keep it at 2, okay? So heading back over to our build, we're gonna call it number of videos. I mean, you can call this field whatever you want. And I'm just gonna save this as 2. And then let's just do video setup, or you can call it whatever you want, right? Now make sure that you run each module, okay? Because then you'll be able to map the fields across like you see here. Okay, I'm not gonna do that because it gets expensive with, you know, images, generating AI images, because I have to use paid apps. I'm using paid apps for the sound, for the video, for all of that, right? And for the rendering. So it just gets expensive. And also, obviously, there's operations to think about inside of N10. So I'm just gonna run it off the main build here, but that's done. So next, the last module or node for the storyboard AI agent build, or section of the build, is the basic LLM chain, okay? So let's just build that, and then we can move on to the next section. So the basic LLM chain is the prompt. Makes sense, right? So we're not going to use this prompt. We're just telling the AI, the OpenAI agent, what we want, right? So we want a unique cat story following the exact structure, right? And this structure is based off what I've seen on TikTok and YouTube and other places, right? So a brief narrative summary in 30 words. So this is I'm going to use this prompt to create prompts further down the workflow, okay? You want a minimum of 4 descriptive scenes. Now I'm going to do 2. But if I was doing 4, then obviously I would adjust this to 4. The protagonist is a round, overweight, orange tabby cat with a big belly. Now you probably want to make this a bit more descriptive to match the example that I showed you on TikTok, because these chubby, fat, kind of obese cats are doing really well. They're going really viral, right? And then you want to have some examples of the format. So follow this structure exactly, okay? A story: after spotting a stunning female cat, he decides to transform himself into getting fit in the hopes of winning her heart, only to be crushed when he finds out that she's taken, okay? So this is just an example. You can put anything in this example that you want, right? Total number of scenes is going to grab this field here, which is JSON total number of scenes. And you can see that it's 2. And if you know it's worked, if you go into the results section, it's got 2. If this was set to 10, you'd see an output of 10 and so on, right? And then I've given it some scenes. So initially I did 4 scenes in the video. But for this example, I'm just going to do 2, because it just creates the content quicker, the AI content, the sound, the video, and it renders faster, okay? But this was initially set up for 4. And the example I showed you was 4. So I've given it 4 examples here, okay? So I'm just going to copy this because I've already done it. And I'm going to paste it into this mode here. So you want to select define below, and then let's just select expression so you can see it. It's a bigger window, so you can see this here. And then it's going to grab it from this one here, okay? So if we run this module, you'll see that it'll say 2, and then everything here will be 2. I haven't run this, so that's why you can't see it, okay? And then what did I call this? Let me just go back here, come out this, storyboard AI agent. So let's just rename this to storyboard AI agent and keep it consistent. Storyboard AI agent, rename that. Okay, and that's it. That's everything that you need. There's nothing else in here that you need to enable. Go ahead and come out of this, okay? And if you wanted to, you can actually add, let me just zoom out a bit of this. You can actually add a sticky note. So if you wanted to do that, you just put this in here and call the sticky note what I call this which is the storyboard AI agent, okay? The last thing you want to do is you want to add the chat model. So I'm using OpenAI for this with ChatGPT. So let's just go into here. But I mean, you can use any of these, right? I mean, I already paid for OpenAI, so I'm just going to connect to OpenAI. And for this, I've already created the API key. And from the list, I'm going to select 4 mini because it's very affordable. It doesn't use that many tokens, and the output is quite quick. It's still really quick, okay? So make sure that's saved, and then yeah, that's it. And then yeah, you just want to basically put this inside of here, and that's the first part of this done. Let's just rename this to storyboard AI agent, and remember to save this, okay? The second part of the workflow is the image AI agent, okay? So the first module here is the basic LLM chain, and that's connected to OpenAI. I'm going to use OpenAI for all of this, but like I said at the start of the video, you can actually use any language model that you want, okay? And then we're going to need a structured output parser, and I'll show you why in a second. So head back over to the build. We're going to just connect this up, and then inside of here, you just want to require a specific output, so it gives you the output parser, okay? And then what we're going to do is I'm going to go back into here, and I'm going to show you what the prompt is, okay? So can you help me generate a prompt for a short film? Yeah, main character, a chubby, round-bellied, orange tabby cat with a plump physique, okay? And then it's going to take the text. So this JSON field is just a text from the storyboard, right? It's just a text field, okay? So just pull that over and move it here. So you just want to drag this, and you can move that over here. Right, scene should emphasize the main character. Consider every scene as an individual prompt. Output should be an array of image prompts. Okay, so I've given it a very specific like output, and then I've given an example of a scene, right? And then the number of image prompts is just going to be the video setup, right? So number of videos is 2. That's what I'm gonna do, and you know it's worked because everything is green. So this has basically taken the text that's generated from the storyboard AI, right? And you can see it's green, it's all worked. And then if I go down to here, the number of image prompt, that's at the 2, okay? So we know that's worked as well. And then the example output is this JSON here. Okay, and I've given it a JSON output, and you'll see why in a second, because then I want to basically pass that output, right? And passing just means that we can use it. If we export it into JSON, we can actually use the outputs and we can separate them out, right? Which is why we have a split out module. And copy, and then I'll build up the rest of it. So I'm going to copy this, and this is just a JSON format, and then we're going to put that into here. So we're going to define this below. Let's go into expressions. Let's open the window so you can see it. And then this will be green once you've ran the previous modules, and you can pull the fields over, okay? And then what did I call this? I call this the image AI agent. Okay, so I'm going to rename this to just keep it consistent. So image AI agent, rename that. Remember, we had the specific output format, right? And that's because we want to pass it. So the first thing I want to do is grab the language model, and I'm going to use OpenAI, ChatGPT, and 4 mini is absolutely fine for this. And then the next thing you want to do is, if I just move this across here, we want the structured output parser, okay? And then for that, I'm going to show you what that looks like. So if we go inside of here, right? This is generated from the JSON example. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this from here. Okay. And so let me just copy all of that. And then this is what you see as the output once you run that. Okay. So let's just paste this in here. And then you can leave the functions as whatever they are. I'm not going to rename these. Okay, and the next module you want is the split out module. Okay, and the reason for that is we've got the structured output parser, right? But remember, we're creating multiple scenes. So in this example, I've set it to the number of videos is 4, which is the number of scenes. But if you're doing 10, 5, whatever, you need to get these the image prompts You need to split it out, okay? If I click inside, you'll see what that looks like. And all you want is basically the output prompt list, which is this here, okay? So I'm just gonna copy this, because you can see here, once you run the image AI, the actual parser will split it out, will spread out each of the prompts. Okay, see, so I've got 2 because I only ran 2, but if you had 5, 10, whatever, that's exactly what you see here. So I'm gonna paste this in all the fields. Okay, so we're gonna paste that here. Okay, and then you can obviously test a step and leave it at that. Okay, so there's nothing else to configure here. So we're just gonna come out this. Okay, and then move this across for the next part of the build. Okay, so if I was to run this, you'll see what that looks like. You can see here, it's got the image output prompt list, and it'll basically prompt all of that, right? Take all these prompts and then split it out. So you can see, you can only see one, right? You can only see one prompt in the output, but there's actually 2. You can see there's 2 items here, okay? And that's because I've got 2 image prompts on the left here, but it's just kind of simplified it for you. Okay, so the next module or node is the text to image. Okay, so that's gonna be an HTTP request. And I'll show you how to set that up. So we're gonna call this text to image. Let's save that. I'll show you how to set this up and why I pinned it. Okay, so I'm gonna go inside of here and wait for this to open. So we're gonna use the post method, and then we're gonna use Pi API. So if you've seen a previous video of mine about faceless channels, you know that I like Pi API for this. It just connects quite easily. The API is pretty straightforward, and the output doesn't really take that long. Okay, so I'm just gonna grab this and I'll show you where you can get your API keys and all that from. So we're gonna change this to post because we're pulling this off. We're sending this information to the post, means you're sending it from NA to N to the API service, okay? Get means it's the other way. It's coming from them to you. So you want to have headers, right? So the headers is going to be x-API-key, and it is case sensitive, so just bear that in mind when you're doing this. So we're going to basically take that. And then the API key, the value is just the API key. And I'll show you how to get that in a sec. And then we're going to send the body as well. And the body content is always raw. So we're going to select that. And then the content type is application-JSON. Okay, and remember to look at the capitalization or the non-capitalization, right? You got to type it in exactly how you see it. Okay, and then for the body, I'm just going to copy this. Okay, so what this is doing is this is getting the previous split out prompt list. Okay, it's going to take the 2 prompts and then it's going to create an image on Pi API using Flux. So Flux is a text to image module, and I'll show you that once I've pasted this in here. Okay, so let's head over to expression, just paste that in here. Again, this is going to be green when you run the previous modules. Okay, and then is there anything else we need to do on here before I show you the API key? I don't think so. Okay, I think that's it. The height width, this is for a landscape portrait image on like TikTok Reels, Instagram Reels, or YouTube Shorts. Okay, and so head over to Pi API. This is Pi API. So it's piapi.ai, and then sign up. You're probably going to need to top it up. $5 is enough to test this. And then you want to go to API. Oh, wrong one. Where's it gone? API keys, and then you can create a new key. Okay, once you're done with that, copy that and then paste it here where it says the value in the headers. Okay, that's it. That's all you need to do for that. And then once you test it, you'll see this output. Now I've actually pinned this. The reason I pinned this because I want to use the same prompts every time I run this, and you probably want to do that with your testing and a workflow like this, because otherwise you're going to keep generating new prompts. You're going to generate new Flux images, and it's going to use up more credits, right? It's going to use up more credits inside of a service like PyAPI. It's also going to use up more operations inside of N8N, right? Unnecessarily. Once you've tested it and everything's working, you can unpin this, right? So if you go into production, you actually want fresh content for your TikTok or Instagram channel, then you want to unpin this, and it will obviously generate, fresh content for you. But because I was testing this, I just wanted to make sure that I don't want to use up too many of my credits, okay? The next module is a wait module, and the reason for that is that the image will take a couple of minutes to generate, okay? So I usually just set this to something like 2 minutes for the image. That's totally fine, okay? And I'll show you why, right? So if you go back into the dashboard overview inside of PyAPI, when I've run this in the past, right, you'll see how long it takes for it to generate like an image. So if I just scroll up, I go to Flux. So Flux is the image creator. And so look, I've created these images before, right? This was done yesterday. So I ran it at 4:15 or 4:14, and it completed in about 30 seconds. Now that's usually quite fast, and that's probably because I've done it at like 4 a.m. whatever time zone this is in, right? If I do it at like a busier time zone when generally the US is awake, it's going to take a lot longer, and it usually takes like 2 to 3 minutes. The second one, this one took a little bit longer, right? This one almost took a minute, right? So it started at 4:14 and it finished at 4:15. So you kind of get a picture, right? That's why we need a wait module, right? Because otherwise you're going to pull the text to image, you're going to generate the text to image, it's going to create the URL, right? Which is, if I go inside of here, you can see it is it's usually in here. There's URL, right? But what it will say, the status will be pending, as you can see here. Okay, when it's pending, it's obviously still processing the image, right? And that's why you want to give it some time for it to do that. And then the next one you want is a get image. So now you've created the image, you want to get the image. Okay, so I'm going to head over to our build here, and it's another HTTP request. This time I'm going to call it get image. Okay, and then as the name suggests, it's now a get method. Okay, and then what we're going to do is I'm going to copy this URL, but now what we want to do is we want to basically get the previous node. We want to get a task ID, right? So each operation on PyAPI will have a unique task ID, and that has to be a dynamic variable, okay? Which is why I put the json.data.taskID field in there. Okay, so grab this, copy this, and then I'll paste it here. And then for the headers, you want to enable it again, so it's going to be the same, okay, as the one before it, the text to image. The API key is the same, that doesn't change unless you change the API key on PyAPI. So paste that in there, and then you don't need the send body, okay? You can turn that off, so you can leave that off, okay? And I'm just going to test this step just to show you what that looks like. So it hasn't run the previous module, so let's see. It's going to wait for like a minute, and then let's just stop this, and then I'm going to need to run the previous module, but I'll run it all again to show you exactly what it looks like once it's built. Okay, so head back over here and remember to run this module so you can pull over all the fields. Okay, and then if we head back to the final build, the next step is going to be the video AI agent. So we've done the image AI agent. The third part of the workflow is the video AI agent. Okay, so what this is going to do is it's going to take the image, convert it into a video. It's going to get the video. It's going to take the text, convert it into audio. And for this, I'm going to use a tool called 11 Labs. And then it's going to download the audio into Google Drive. It's going to update the permissions so that we can manipulate it later and render it right inside of Google Drive. And then it's going to merge the assets, and I'll show you why. It's going to display the elements, and then it's going to render the video. Okay, so for the video rendering, I'm going to use a tool called Create-O-Mate. Okay, so let's head over to our build, and the first one we want is the HTTP module. We're going to make a request, and for this, let me just grab the API URL endpoint. Okay, so just going to wait for this, and now it's a post, so we're going to send this back from NA to N to PyAPI. Okay, so we're going to change that to post. URL is that, and then for the headers, you just want to grab x-api-key. So turn the headers on, and then the API is always the same unless you change it on the platform, right, on PyAPI. But there's only ever one API, okay? And then we're gonna want a body as well. So the content type is always raw, and then the application type is, make sure you spell it right, application-JSON. This is very important, by the way. Make sure you spell it right. And then we're gonna grab this body text here, okay? So what this does is, I'm going to explain this to you, right? But basically, we're going to use a service called Kling. Okay, so on PyAPI, it has a lot of different language models that we can use for text to image, image to video, etc. Right? So for this, I'm going to use Kling because it gives me really good outputs, right? And then it's going to take the input from the prompts, right, from the previous module, right? And then it's going to take the output for the image URL as well. Okay, so from the text to image, there should be an image URL in here somewhere if it's run properly. If it hasn't, that's fine. I'll run it all at the end anyway. And then this is just the kind of formatting for the image, okay? So just copy this and paste it inside the body. So I'm gonna go to expression, open this. And once this is green, make sure it's green, and then you'll see the output here, the result here, okay? Make sure that's saved. And then just close this. There's nothing else here that we need. Okay, so I'm just gonna rename this to image to video, and then we're done. Okay, we're done. So then you just want to move that over here, and we're gonna connect this up. So let's just take this, connect it up to something like this. Okay, so it's it looks all tidy. Okay, then we come out this, and then we're gonna have another wait module. So for this, I've set it to about 10 minutes. This is the one that takes the longest, right? Now, typically this can take, in the past when I've run this, it can take anywhere between like 5 minutes up to 20 minutes. Okay, so I'll leave that up to you how you want to do this. I'm just gonna put it as like 5 minutes because I'm recording a video, or maybe I'll adjust it to 10 minutes once I run the automation at the end of this build, okay? So just factor that in, okay? If you're not sure how long it takes, you can always go into PyAPI, go into overview, and then here change the model to, let me just find it, Kling, and then yeah, just check here. Okay, this one's failed, otherwise failed, but it's okay. So this will show you that I ran it at 8:31 and then finished at 8:36. So about 5 minutes, right? But that's not always typical. Depends really when you, or what time of day you do this, okay? So let's just leave it at 5 minutes. Should be okay. Because I'm recording this at a time that's not too busy, okay? Then the next one is a get video. So I'm just gonna copy this one and just change it a little bit. So we're gonna connect this up. Okay, and then I'm gonna rename this. So now this is gonna be a get, right? So let's call this a get image because, sorry, get video, because we wanna pull the video off, right? Off PyAPI. Rename that, and then I'm just gonna pull the API for this, okay? So now we're gonna need the task ID, right? Because every time you generate a new image to video, a new process on PyAPI, it's going to generate a unique task ID, okay? And that's a dynamic field, so we're going to need that, right? It needs to be a dynamic variable, okay? Because it will change each time, every time you run this, okay? And then headers will stay the same. Body you can turn off, okay? So if I go back into the original, I'll show you that. We just see the header and that's all that stays the same, but the body is turned off, okay? So remember to test the step. And then the next one you want to do is another HTTP node. This time we're going to do about the original, okay? So I'm just going to get out, I'm just going to pull the URL for this. And for this, I'm going to use 11 Labs, okay? So this is a post because we're sending data from NA to N to 11 Labs. So this was text to audio, rename that. Oh, I don't want to do that. And then we're gonna go to the URL here. Then I'm gonna turn the headers on and I'm gonna show you exactly how you get that from 11 Labs. So this one is lowercase xi API dash key. And each platform will have their own API syntax, okay? So it's very platform specific. So this, let me just grab this. This is my API. Paste that in here. And then we want the body as well. So that's always raw application JSON, but it's this that I want, the actual body code. Okay, so remember it's always raw. And then the content type is always application-JSON. Remember case sensitivity. And then for the body, I'm going to switch to app expression and then paste this here. Okay, so this is going to be text, no voice. It's going to pull the data from the input. Okay, so the input here is going to be text. So it's going to be one of these, the input string here, right? We're going to pull that. Now the problem is this is too long, right? This is, I don't know, like 500 characters or something like that. And 11 Labs only allows like 450. So for the sake of compliance, I put in a substring. Okay, the substring just means that it will make this string shorter, right? Because the prompt inside of 11 Labs, I think it's like 450 characters or something like that. So I've set it to 400, okay? That's all that means there. The duration is 5 seconds. If you want to make it longer, you can. But I'm just done 5 seconds, okay? So we'll close this and we'll just make sure that it's all correct here. Okay, and that's it. And just make sure you test a step. Okay, and then the next node is going to be an upload file inside of Google Drive, because we need to download the audio, okay, before we can manipulate it later in the automation. So let's bring up a Google Drive, and then we're going to upload a file, and then just connect it to your account, to your Gmail or G Suite account. And then the file name is going to be, I'm just going to take it off this one, right? Because I haven't run it. So it's just going to be the task ID, the JSON task ID from the previous node. But you want to put a .mp3 on there, okay? That's the audio file. Let's just take that, paste that here. And then the drive, you select obviously where the location is and the parent folder. I've just put on the root, which is obviously a top level, but you could put this into like a cat folder or call it whatever you want, right? And then, so this one I'm gonna rename to download audio. Okay. And then I think we're good to go. There's nothing else that we need on this one. Okay. The next one we're gonna need to do is we're gonna need to update the permissions on the Google Drive, okay? Because by default, the permissions are locked down. Okay, so what we need to do is go back to Google Drive and pull up a node. But this time we're gonna need, what is it called? Share file, right? Again, connect it up to the correct drive. And then from the file list, I'll show you how you set that up. We're gonna take the JSON ID, okay? So just copy this. By ID, make sure you select by ID, and then we're going to paste it here, as you see here. And then for the permissions, we just want writer and anyone, and allow discovery. This is important. Make sure you check allow file discovery. Otherwise, the next module, which is the merge module, won't be able to find it, okay? Because it's not visible. So you want writer, you want anyone. This just gives it like the top level permissions, okay? And then allow discovery. And remember to rename it and run the node. Okay, so this one is going to be update permissions. Rename that. Okay, and yeah, that's because the JSON ID is not there. That's fine. And then what we want to do after that is we want to merge it. Okay, so we've got assets, right? So we've got two assets. We've got the audio and we've got the video, and we need to update permissions as well, right? So what you want to do is you want to get a merge node. Okay, and this time you want to combine. Okay, so if I go into the original, let's wait for that to load. We're gonna combine it, we're gonna position it, and we've got 3 inputs. And I'll show you why. Okay, so we're gonna combine, we're gonna position, and we've got 3 here. Because if I go back to the original, you'll see why there's 3 inputs, right? If I just zoom in, you'll see that, right? So the first one is the video, right? You can see that it's connected to video, right? The video module, the get video module, right? Second one is connected to the update. The second one is, if I can get to it, hold on. Maybe I'll move this out so you can see it. Second one is download the audio, so get the audio file, right? And the third one is update permissions. It's in that order, and make sure you put it into that order, okay? So we want 3, and that's it. So we're gonna delete this one. So the first one is get video. The second one is get the audio file. And the third one is update permissions. So I just move this out of the way. There you go, connected. Okay, so it should look like this. This is how you want it. Right, if I move this out of the way, you can see it better. I've just moved it like this so it's aligned. Okay, so that's the merge module. And then the last one for this particular flow, right before we render it, is gonna be display elements. Okay, and I'll show you why you need that. So we're gonna need a node for that. Right, so we can run some code, some JavaScript, and then I just need to copy some code from here. So this is basically, we're returning 2 fields, right? Dynamic fields. The first one is the video URLs. So we've got the data output for the video URL, which comes from this node here, get video, right? And we also want the text to audio, okay? And you'll see why. So I'm gonna copy this, open this one. You can leave it as code or just display elements or display assets, call it whatever you want, doesn't really matter. And then you just paste that there as you see it, okay? And then the last one is gonna be the render. So this is gonna be a HTTP request. Okay, we're gonna call this one a render video. Let's rename that. And then now we're gonna want a bit of code from this module here, this node, okay? So this is a post because I'm sending it from NA to N to CreatorMate. So I've used it before in a previous video. I'm gonna use CreatorMate to their API. They give you like 50% or something for free, enough to test it. So let's just go ahead and paste that. Remember to change this to post, that's not gonna work. Headers, let's pull that off here. So it's authorization. And remember the spelling, right? This is the US spelling, UK spelling. So we're gonna paste that here. And then the value is gonna be my API key, but it needs bearer in front of that, okay? And I'll show you how to pull that off as well. And then you want the body as well. So for this, it's content type. Actually, we need to add one more parameter before I forget to do that. So I want to add one more parameter. So this is content type, and then the value is going to be application JSON. Okay, so remember to add this parameter, and then for the body, we want raw application JSON. So for the body is always going to be raw. So if I go down to here, and then I'll type in application-JSON, and then for the body, there's a bit of code here, okay, that I'm going to need, and I'll explain that exactly how that works. So let's just bring this up, and then copy this, and I'll explain it to you here. So let's just bring up expression, bring up the big window so you can see it. And then this is JSON. Okay, so what this does is, I'll show you inside of Creator Mate. Okay, so I've created a template, like a timeline, to basically generate my reel for me, okay, or my YouTube short. Okay, so there's 4 sources, because initially I was doing 4 videos, right, 4 scenes in per video. So video 1, video 2, video 3, video 4, and there's 4 audios, right, because each scene has audio attached to it. Okay, so for this, you're just pulling off the items from the display elements. Okay, so the first one is JSON 1, video 2, video 4, and first one is 0. That's why there's only 0 to 3. Okay, but in total there's 4. And the same is for the dynamic variable JSON.sound_URLs. It's just pulling that off the merge and then the display elements. Okay, once it's green, it's worked. So I'm going to head over inside of Creator Mate. The other thing you need is the template ID. Okay, so this, I'll show you where to get that from. So if I go inside of Creator Mate, this is the template I'm using. So let's click inside of here. This is what it looks like. You don't need to worry about this. This is just a placeholder. The most important thing here is the timeline on the left here. So you got video 1 to video 4, audio 1 to audio 4, which is what corresponds to these sources here. And the template ID is this in the URL, right? You can get it from here. This is template ID, or you can use it if you go to use template, API integration, you can pull it off here. This is the same template ID, okay? And then the only thing you need to make a note of is how many videos do you want it? How many scenes do you want per video, right? Like in this, I've only done 4. So I've got 4 scenes and they're 5 seconds long, which means that my videos will be 20 seconds, okay? Same with the audio, okay? And that basically then corresponds, each scene will have a different audio, right? If you want to put like 10 scenes or, 50 scenes or whatever, right? Like depending on how long you want the video, you're going to need to expand this timeline, okay? And expand each of these slots here, okay? Because each slot, like I said, is only 4 seconds, as you can see the duration on here on the right hand side, right? And that's what corresponds with my workflow, because I've made sure that when I create these videos, they're only going to be 5 seconds long each. Okay, so yeah, that's all that there is to this. It's just basically code that we need to trigger inside of Creator Mate. Okay, and to get the value here, the API, you just want to go to these 3 dots here, project settings, and then the API keys here. So just click on this and it'll tell you what the API key is, okay? And I think we're done. Yeah, so for the last part of this is done. So now all we have left to do is let me just come out of this. Let me zoom out of this. So I'll show you. I'm trying to use my touchpad for this. Obviously failing. So yeah, so we've done the video AI agent. So the last part is going to be the video upload. I'll show you how you can create titles using OpenAI's ChatGPT, how you can download the video, and how you can upload it to your YouTube channel. The final part of the automation is the video upload here, and there's 3 nodes. So the first one is OpenAI, because we're going to use this to create the YouTube titles, right? We're going to make this a completely automated workflow. Second one is a HTTP node, and I need this because you got to download the video before you can upload it into YouTube, okay? So let's just go ahead and build this. I'm just going to attach it here, and we're just going to pull up the OpenAI node, and then it's going to be message and model, okay? And then for the model, we're going to use message model. We're going to use from the list. We're going to select 4 mini because At the time of writing, it's still very affordable, and the output's pretty good, okay? And then for the text, I'm just gonna take it off from here and explain to you the context. So the first part is always gonna be a system prompt, okay? And I'll put it inside of the expression so you can see it. Make it bigger. So let's just paste that here. So you are an expert at creating viral YouTube hooks. Make sure it's less than 100 characters long. I think the YouTube title is like 120 characters or something like that. And do not include the quotation marks, right, which is this here, in the output, because I want it to be a complete automated workflow. I don't want to have to go in there and edit anything, right? And then once that's done, that will be a system prompt, okay, because I always like to set the context. And then the next one is going to be a user prompt, and it's basically getting this field here, okay? So I'm going to copy this, and you could see that it's getting the what are the prompts from the AI image agent, right? It's getting the first from the JSON from that, and then the first from the JSON image output prompt list. Okay, so if you go down here, there's a prompt list. I don't know if it's ran. Should be, where is it? It's quite a long one here. Split, right, from the split out node. Okay, and the reason we need stringify is because I'm going to turn this into text, right? Because remember, I'm using this output as a text field on YouTube. Okay, so it will basically what stringify does, it converts the JSON object into a text, and then I can use it later. Okay, that's all it means there. And then make sure you test it, and we're gonna call this let's just grab this, and I'm gonna call it create YouTube titles. Okay, so first create YouTube titles, let's rename that, and then I'll paste that here, and then that's it, that one's done. Okay, so then the next one you want is a HTTP node, because we're going to download the video. Okay, and this time it's a get. Let's just rename this to download. Because we're going to download it before we can upload it, right? Rename that, and then we're just going to grab the URL for that from the original. So if we go inside of here, it's going to be the render video, the JSON URL. Okay, so that's going to be from this module here. Right, there should be an output that has the video URL. You just grab that, okay? And you can just drag it from the input across, and it'll look like something like this. So let's just paste that here, and we don't need anything else because we're just doing an internal GET request, okay? And then the last one you need is an upload video from the YouTube node. And for this, we're just going to get the message content that comes out of the from this module here, from the create YouTube titles module. Okay, so let's just get YouTube, and then we're going to do upload a video. Okay, connected to your YouTube account. The title is going to be this one here, so remember to just pull it in from the input, and we're just going to grab this. And then for the region, I'm just going to use the United States. Again, you just set this up to whatever region you're in. And then for the category, I'm going to use science and technology, or you can use education, humor, comedy. Probably comedy might be the better one. And lastly, you want to have a privacy status. Okay, so the reason for that is, let me just select it first, privacy status, and then you want it unlisted. Okay, I think whenever you have an AI workflow, AI solution, and the output is going to be visible, right? Like it's going to go to your audience or people that follow you. I think it's a good idea to have a human in the loop step. Okay, now you can still, it doesn't stop you from creating as much content as you want. It just means that when it's uploaded into YouTube, it's unlisted. And all that means is that you have to go in there and just from unlisted, you would manually just set it to public, right? Once you're happy with it. So once you're happy with the title, once you're happy with the video output, all that kind of stuff, right? And it's literally like, if you're doing 3 videos a day, it's literally like a 10-second job, right? It's not going to be something that's going to take up a lot of your time. Okay, so what did I call it? Did I call it upload video? I think I did, right? yeah, upload video. Rename that, and yeah, that's it. So that's the entire automation done. You can obviously add a sticky note as well. Let's just do that to complete this. So I'm gonna put this here. I'm gonna make this a little bit wider, longer, and let's just move this a bit over to this side. And then I'm gonna change the color to green. And then I'll add, a title. I'm gonna call it video upload, and there you have it. This is the complete build done. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna pause the video. I'm gonna run the original automation. I'm gonna unpin this so we get a different output. So I'm gonna go back to this module here, which is the text to image. And I'm gonna go inside of here and unpin this, which means that the output's gonna be different, okay? So just wait for this to load. It's running a bit slow today. And once it's done, I'll come back and show you the latest video that this has generated. Welcome back. So the automation was successful. You can see there's green ticks across the board. It took about 15 minutes to generate all the assets, put it all together, and then render the video. Okay, so yeah, it's all green across the board. It actually uploaded it into my YouTube. So this is the YouTube video. As you can see here, it's a cat video. I'll show you the full video as rendered by Creator Mate, but you can see that it's actually uploaded it inside of my test channel on YouTube. This is a video short, and the title, everything has been done by AI. Okay, so the only thing you would have to do if this was a production channel and you were doing this for like a live audience, then the only thing you need to do is just change the visibility to public. Okay, so before I wrap up the video, let me just grab the URL and I'll show you what the video looks like. So let me just go inside of render video. It's a little bit slow, and it's this video here. So I'm just gonna go to this. And so this is a new video. I don't know if you can hear the sound, but there's sound on this. I'll include a link to this video in the description below. But yeah, this is 4 scenes, 5 seconds long. Completely automated. And yeah, I think it's a pretty good job. I mean, if I was to improve upon this, the only thing I would suggest is those fat chubby cats seem to do really well. So maybe just kind of test the prompt. I mean, this is a little bit chubby. This one not so bad, but I mean, you can get it fat. Like you can put like a fat kind of cat here. You could change the style, right? So if you wanted like a cartoony anime style, I mean, test it, right? Like if you go to TikTok, there's different types of cat videos. They're all very different. Some are anime style. I've seen watercolor kind of, like a Van Gogh style art, right? That's done with AI. So honestly, test it, because cat lovers will just engage with anything. And you can also test it with any other animal, right? So try dogs, elephants. I mean, who knows, right? What people like out there. So thanks for watching this video. It was a long one, and it took me quite a while, well, at least a day or so to put this together. So do me a solid, just subscribe to the channel, turn the notifications on, and I'll definitely see you again on the Automation Kings. Okay, so take care and have a good day.